today.
Before we do that, sir, I would like to recognize, acknowledge the presence of Mr. Leonardo Chua, our board member sa Philippine Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and of course, my good friend Stephen Kua of the Supermarkets Association. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
And I'm very happy that I see so many exporters around. I think they heard that we have a hearing today. So hearing what Secretary Mon and Secretary Dewey and I guess another presentation of bill later on, I will just zero in on two legislation that I think is might be important now. For the PHILEXPORT side, I would like to say that this is a very timely hearing. We are now on the 15th negative result of our export. In June, the last data, we were negative 11 from last year. So we have a estimated Export Development Council of a growth this year of 6.8 to 8%. But the Export Development Council last month had to redo it. We'll be lucky on merchandise export if we end up flat. But because our services sector is doing quite well, we might be able to salvage a 3% overall growth for this year. So just note that in 2014, our export was 62 billion for merchandise, and we went down to about 5.6 in 2015, and we are already in 58 billion, and hopefully we'll at least end up with a little positive this year, when we were actually hoping that we will recover with our target what we had in 2014. So very powerful program. And I guess we have the Export Development Act, which helped us a lot. It was passed in 1994. It's called the Export Development Act of 1994, and there was a lot of incentives that was given, but never happened. But at least in 1997, when we had the crisis, we ended up as the most glorious year of the export sector with an unheard of 29% growth, highest in the whole world, in spite of the fact that in 1998 we were at the height of the crisis. That was because at that time, some of the incentives in the Export Development Act, which was passed in 1995, was basically still there and being, but after that, all the incentive got lost because there was no funding that was given. And now we don't really get any more funding, and I think that the Secretary of DTI is the swarming seat. If I'm not mistaken, the fund of the budget of DTI is about 4 or a little less, 4 billion, or a little less. And we have the group that is originally called the Export Development Group in DTI. I think they're composed of 6 agencies, familiar with you probably, CITEM, Bureau of Export Trade Promotion, Bureau of, and I think the allocated budget out of the less than 4 billion budget of DTI for those export group is about 500 million. And we do know that in government, 80% of that will be for salaries and administrative expense. So technically, what is allocated for export promotion or export development by DTI, something like 100 million. And this is for the sector that is expected to produce 50% of the economy, of the GDP. Now we are at about 40, I think, 38. But in 1998, when I mentioned that, we were 55% of the GDP. But now we are less than 40, I think. And 100 billion is the direct, Of course, there are some collateral funding coming from the Department of Agriculture, the OST, but basically what is devoted is 100 million plus prayers, I think, from the government for the export sector. And we wonder why we do not compete, even with the help of the cutting down the red tape, did a lot, but we are being left behind. Today, as of today, just to cite an example, Thailand is now going on the fourth offensive for ASEAN. They're now coming again to show their wares for the fourth time. Which started last year at the height of their political crisis. They were doing road shows here, big to show Thailand products, which we can only watch in envy. At the height of that, they are doing that. When last year, we could not even go, we are known to be export of the Milan of Asia. We were not even able to join Milan. Well, all our Asian neighbors were there because we had no budget for it. We missed that. We cannot even do the shows, the local shows that will attract enough buyers because we cannot go and visit, we cannot afford it because we have no fund for it. And every time we do the export development plan, which we do every 3 years, we will have a component which says, if you give this, we probably will grow these funds. Never happened. So this year, I think the export development plan says, give us 2 billion for export promotion, development, product development. I don't think it's the budget. That's why we are saying, perhaps, what do you expect DTI to do if there is no budget allocation for it? We cannot get it elsewhere. And that is our lament. And maybe I will go to the next issue because from the PCCI point of view, in which we are 99.6% micro, small, and medium enterprises in the Philippines. And although 80% of that is micro. In export, the micro is smaller. But we're basically also in the 90% vicinity for MSME. And I think our MSME is the most underbanked sector in the whole Asia. We are still talking, they're already funding their MSME, and we're still talking about how to do it. We came up with a lot of high-sounding names for funding, but hardly scratched the surface. We did pass a law 18 years ago called the Magna Carta for SME. 10 years later, it died without having accomplished anything. It was supposed to give 8% funding from the portfolio of the banking sector to the SMEs. It died because central bank was able to, at the time, to induce an alternative compliance mode, which is you buy T-bills and you comply. So it ended, and we had it amended 8 years ago, which we call now MSME, Magna Carta for MSME, including the micro, and we added 2% to the fund. It's now on the 8th year. Nothing has happened. During the hearing of this amended law, we tried to cure what was wrong in the old law. What was wrong with it is, number one, it was a regulatory capture. There were 2 institutions that are supposed to be empowered by the law. One, both of them are under the Department of Trade and Industry. One is the Med Council, and the other one is the SB Corporation. We were able to reconstitute the composition of this Med Council, taking away the regulatory capture because it was the central bank governor, it was the Secretary of Finance, and 3 representatives from the banking sector, the Universal, the Bangko Sentral. Now we were able to say that 90% should go to this Med Council so that they can use it for whatever purpose. And the 10% is the only administrative portion that should go to Bangko Sentral. But unfortunately, after all these years, I think about 100 million was taken, and I don't even know where it went, because since the Med Council was not even meeting, so I don't know how it was used. So I don't think it was used for the purpose that it was meant for the law. And the only alternative compliance that was allowed under the law, the amended law, was for the banks who cannot comply to buy preferred shares from SB Corporation. After 8 years, not 1 peso was bought, because everybody is presumed to have complied. Or perhaps they just prepare to pay penalties because for some reason the IRR legislated the law. The minimum penalty was 500,000, and I think what the law says is 500,000 for every reportorial time, which is quarterly. It became 500,000 maximum for 1 year. And it is already graduated. For compliance, partial compliance, also it's very minimal, and for 1 year. And the penalty, the administrative sanction was taken away. And we don't even know what is the reportorial requirement. So at the end, SB Corporation did not raise capital. It was trying to sell notes instead of getting the... I thought at the time that it was passed, well, give it 5 years, SB Corporation will be the biggest financial institution that will help SMEs. Never happened. They didn't get a single peso because the law, again, is useless. Fortunately, last week we had a meeting with Bangko Sentral. They now agree that perhaps it might be, since SB Corporation is not taking any public deposit, that perhaps it can be outside of the regulatory or regulation of Central Bank. They now agree to that. And that is nice news, because we are thinking that if we really want to really help our SMEs, we should be able to come up with out-of-the-box thinking on how to finance them. It can't be the regular way that prudential measures that will be regulated by Central Bank, that you expect them to a repayment of 97%. And of course there are risks. But we are thinking that we have the CCT, which I think is 62.5 billion fund, and just to monitor it is about 5 billion, bigger than the budget of DTI, just to monitor it. And I don't even know, it's a long-term program, how we measure the success. I was thinking, if 20 billion of that will be allocated to SME, and lending that will probably do not expect to get 95%, 97%, but maybe 75% if it's run by something like SB Corporation. Wouldn't it be better than giving away without return, and or creating jobs by giving 20 billion to the SME, creating jobs, and still getting repaid by about 75%? I think there is no comparison. And yet, every time we try to ask for financing, we are told, where do we get it? Well, I say, get it from CCT. I don't even know if they are able to burn that much in a year, or if the return will be worthwhile as if creating jobs. Do we wonder why it's not trickling down to SMEs or to the small ones, the economy's growth? Because it remains only less than 1% of the economy. They represent for about 70% of the GDP. The small ones represent 30%, yet the biggest employer are the SMEs. And they're the only way that the economy can really be trickling down. Why are not we really focusing on SME? And I think sila Joey, because they're really working on it. No? But I think the government can do a lot by really giving them access to credit. There's a lot of program that has been given, but you look at our chambers in the provinces, the banks there, even the GFIs, have not heard of these programs. And they're asking why our counterpart in ASEAN, they have no more problems in funding, and they still have to go to the gray market. Some of them even to the 5-6 steel. When we are oozing with money, we are giving away in CCT, which I don't even know how you measure the success of that. And the continuity doesn't really job. At least it's a long-term project. I don't want to belittle it. But I think if you look at the choices, how can you give 5 billion to monitor CCT in a budget of 4 billion, less than 4 billion to DTI? What do you expect DTI? What do you expect of the export sector? How in the world can we have a budget like that? So I think I will end my presentation.
Thank you, Ma'am Sir. Just deserve a medal or an award for doing business with such difficulties at times with lack of government support. But you raised a good point on the review of the MSME law. And I will file a resolution probably this week, Secretary, maybe by tomorrow, asking a review of the law. So maybe just a heads up to the Department of Trade and Industry that we'll have a hearing on the review if we need to amend the law. If 8 years has happened, nothing has transpired, there's something wrong. And I go on the line of Mr. Bilus that maybe we should repeal certain provisions of that law, make it better, or find a way to make it work. Although I was just passed on this information by my staff that we passed Republic Act 10744, which is the Credit Surety Fund Act in 2014. This was passed? This is the Republic Act. I wasn't around when this was passed, so I'm going to review that as well. It should be part of our resolution and see how this is supposed to be a fundraising for MSMEs. And this was passed in 2014. So together with the hearing on the law, maybe we should also review this program as well. So thank you, Mr. Ortiz. And I agree with you. Our neighbors like Thailand continuously have road shows. They had one, I think, about a month ago for tourism. And it goes to show that they really spend money for their exports as well as their tourism. So with the Philippine Indian Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to also ask Mr. Ortiz, before you leave, Sir Manusay, if you can give us on writing also your position papers on the different problems exporters face, no? And possible solutions. Because this hearing will be productive. I want this hearing to be productive. At the end of the day, it's not just all problems that we hear, but possible solutions on your sector. So if it's possible, if you have a secretariat that can work also with our secretariat. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chatlani?